Okay, good afternoon. Okay, good afternoon. My name's Councillor Louise Bowen. I'm a member for Radipole. I'm vice chair of this committee, and today I'm chairing this meeting. So this is a meeting of the Children and Health Committee. So I'd like to welcome you to the meeting. We've got apologies from the chair of the committee, Beryl. We've also got apologies from Jindy Atwell. Has anybody else got any apologies? No? Okay. Second thing I'm going to do is ask anybody if they've got any declarations of interest today. Okay. And the third thing I'd like to do is talk about the minutes from the last meeting. Has anybody, I hope we've all had a chance to read the minutes from the previous meeting. Has anybody got anything they want to raise? Okay. So do we need to vote on that, George? No, we don't need to vote on that, so we'll take those as passed. Next thing on the agenda is public participation. We haven't had any questions from the members of the public. Next thing is questions from councillors. We haven't had any of those either. And we haven't had any urgent items. So we're straight on to the meat of today's meeting, which is item number 7, which is the Youth Justice Plan. I'm going to hand over to Claire Sutton, who's joining us online, for a brief introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm very sorry I'm not there in person. So we know what this is about. It's an annual exercise to comply with legislation. So we're seeking your comments and approval before taking this to Cabinet and then full council. So I just wanted to quickly note sort of where we are now. You'll see in the report at number 1.5, the number of children who've entered the youth justice system has fallen from 78 to 49 per year in the past 5 years. Really good news. At 1.7, you'll have noted that we have a low rate of children's with custodial sentences below regional national averages. Service is currently rated good. That's as of 2023, and we've had lots of positives noted in the themed inspection, which took place just 3 months ago. I'll just quickly pick out some of those. So they noted our impressive joint working with Dorset Police, that the staff in the team are skilled, highly motivated and feel well supported, with a strong capacity for reflection at all levels of the service, and that staff build strong relationships with children and families.
Hi,
as
Claire.
reflected.
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry, I think you're talking a little bit fast. I think in the chamber we're having some trouble hearing you. Is that okay if you...
Oh, sure.
No.
Yes. Do you want me to go back to the start or just slow down from now onwards?
I think we're gonna sort the volume out in the chamber as well. Sorted? Okay. Now, I don't think you need to start again. Just carry on where you are. Thank you. Thank you, Claire.
Okay. Sorry, I do tend to speak a little bit too fast.
Relatable, yeah.
Yeah, so I was noting the positives in the themed inspection three months ago. So the impressive joint working with Dorset Police, that staff are skilled, highly motivated and feel well supported, and that staff build strong relationships with children and families, as reflected in feedback from children, parents and carers. But we never rest on our laurels, and I would imagine have noted at 1.10, we've got a multi-agency task and finish group working on early identification of children in care who may be at risk of entering the justice system, and also improving joined up multi-agency working for those who have already entered the justice system. And this activity is just one of the service priorities for 25-26. So as you know, Louise, Head of Service David Webb, and our corporate and executive directors Paul and Paula are in the room with you. So over to them, I guess. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. If you'd like to.
Good afternoon. So I'm David Webb. I'm the Head of Service for the Youth Justice Service. Just a brief introduction. The Youth Justice Plan, as Councillor Sutton said, is an annual requirement which has to be approved by full council. under the Crime and Disorder Act 1998. The Youth Justice Board, which was also set up in that legislation, provides really detailed guidance about what has to be included in the Youth Justice Plan, and the document that is being shared today meets that guidance and is therefore quite a lengthy document. The Youth Justice Plan has to set out the arrangements for youth justice delivery locally. Councillors will be aware that this is a joint partnership with BCP Council. It has to provide information about the resources, governance and partnership arrangements for youth justice, and then the performance in the previous year, details about specific aspects of youth justice work, which are stipulated by the Youth Justice Board for inclusion in the report, and then end with our priorities for the year ahead. In terms of performance, as Councillor Sutton said, we've improved our performance in recent years in reducing the first-time entrants. So that's children who commit an offence, and we're looking for ways to divert them from the formal justice system. And we are on sort of in line with national performance in terms of numbers of children who reoffend, and we have low rates of children entering custody. And then the report ends with our priorities for the year ahead, which obviously we can discuss if the councillors wish further information on those.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that introduction. So this is the meat and bones of the meeting today. We've got this document in front of us. We've all had a chance to read it. It's the only item on the agenda today, really, of any substance. So this is our chance to give to question officers. I wondered if anyone had anything to say. Councillor Ryan, I'm sorry.
Thank you. First of all, obviously, Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, Councillor Ryan Holloway, ward member for Wareham. Thank you, David, for this, obviously for bringing this. I know, as you say, it's an annual thing, and I remember obviously being on this committee in the last administration that it's an annual thing. But I do have a few questions, but I will start with the first one, where regarding about financial. Now, it states in your report, that obviously you were putting this together in mid-April. But it states in the report that the grant allocation still has not yet been announced. Do you have any sort of further updates? And is the amount going to be increased, or is it decreasing? So I wondered if you could just give us some more information on that. Thank you.
Yes, so we recently received our allocation for this current financial year. There's been a 1.5% increase. So our grant from the Youth Justice Board has gone up from 767,000 to 779,000.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Holloway?
Can I just come back on that? Yeah. So thank you for answering that. Obviously, I do welcome that it is an increase, even though it, as I say, in percentages only 1.5%, but nevertheless it is an increase. But obviously, still got a long way to go to get back to our 2014 level. On further down on the report, I just got one more question, and then I will then give way to other members that want to speak. But 4.1, when you in the report about re-engage on the program that started in summer of last year, how successful has that been? And just reading through that report, there seemed to be a lot of positive things about that re-engage program, and I just wanted to know, with the young people that have been involved in that, has it made a difference? Has it sort of, has it had a positive impact on them? Has it sort of made them think, yeah, I could really do this in the future? And so I wonder if you could enlighten me on that. Thank you.
So the Re-engage programme is our prevention work for children who are in mainstream school at risk of school exclusion and not yet known to youth justice. And the project involves speech and language therapy, assessments and support. So although we started last summer, effectively it's been operating since September with the start of the school year, because it relies on referrals from schools. And the initial work was partly about building up awareness of the programme, but we're now running well. So we've got our therapists up to capacity. It also operates in BCP, so across both local authorities we've had 70 children referred, 46 from Dorset and 24 from BCP. Some of those not quite suitable, but most of those referrals have been accepted, and of the completed assessments, 76% have been identified as having communication needs, and quite a significant number of those with significant needs such as developmental language disorder. So those needs have not been identified until the referral to our project and the assessment. And There is, alongside that, some support can be provided to the child, but we're increasingly trying to focus the support with school staff so that the learning from that activity isn't just applied to that child, but can be used for other children in school. And with the range of schools, I think we've had 12 different school settings make referrals from the Dorset Council area. So we're increasing the kind of range and awareness of the programme. So I think it's benefiting both children individually, but also hoping to raise awareness of there may be underlying communication needs that when a child's behaviour is leading to exclusions, this is trying to encourage school staff to look for the causes.
Thank you. My follow-up question to that is, if your therapist is already up to capacity, does that mean there's, you've got a growing waiting list, or does it mean you need another therapist?
So there is scope for more work to be done, definitely. So we funded it from some previous years' underspend, and we've provided funding for 2 years of the project, so this academic year and next school year. And we've had to start drawing the parameters a bit more closely around Key Stage 3. So we've got referrals from children in Year 10 and some in Year 6 as well, who at the start of the project we accepted when we were building up the flow, but now we're saying no to some of those referrals. So there is, if resources were available, there is more that can be done. The Dorset Healthcare Community Speech and Language Service have changed the way they work under an approach called the Balanced Approach with schools. So each school has a communications champion, speech and language therapist attached to them, and communications championed in the school. So the idea is that work should be undertaken by the community service. It's just that teachers don't always identify the underlying communication needs to make the referral into community services.
Thank you. Have you got anything else to say, Ryan?
Yes, I just quickly on that, and then I think Councillor Stella-Jones then wants to speak, but just when you said obviously about the programme there, where you said it's for the academic, obviously only for one more of the academic year, have you got like a longer term sort of funding arrangement sort of coming, or are you having to, as you said, reconstruct it in a way that to make sure that you can obviously make sure that programme succeeds and make sure that you can obviously commit to that funding? Thank you.
So we've got a review of the Re-engage programme's first year's activities coming to our Youth Justice Service Partnership Board in July. That's the body that oversees this and kind of agreed to the programme. So part of that will be starting to build up an evaluation of the kind of evidence to demonstrate its effectiveness, and we will have to start thinking about how we can sustain it, because I think it is proving successful, and we'll obviously be looking for funding to extend it beyond the end of the next school year.
Sorry, Councillor Jones, did you want to say something?
Yeah, Councillor Stella-Jones, Dorchester East. First of all, I think it's a very positive report, and we're definitely going in the right direction. Could I ask, you said you have referrals from schools. Do you link in with youth clubs and youth centres and get referrals at all, or do you leave that going just to schools?
For the Re-engage project, because the focus is on children who are at risk of exclusion from school, we have settled on the school being the referrer, because also we need to work really closely with the school for it to be successful. So we ask for information from them and joint working with them. But we are looking at how we raise awareness of the project so that other professionals or people who work with those children would be aware of it and could suggest it to us or to the school, and then we would work with the school.
Sorry. The second question, for the unfortunate ones who have to go into custody, is the custody nearby so they can keep contact with their friends? Because often they've had a lot of disruption anyway with their lives.
There are no child custody settings in our area. That is partly because of the success, if you like, of the South West in keeping children out of custody. So there are not enough children from the South West region to kind of populate a custodial setting. So that means that children do get placed quite a long way away. Probably the nearest is Feltham in West London, or Oak Hill in Milton Keynes. Those are the two that we've used that probably children go to the most from this area. And you're right to identify the significant issues about maintaining connections and keeping in touch.
An awful long way to go from any friends and relatives. So hopefully we'll have even few of them being taken to custody.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Has anybody else got anything they'd like to raise? Councillor Furman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Alex Furman for the Mighty Westham in Weymouth. So in the initial paper, it's 1.12.4, which says early identification of speech language communication needs for children at risk of school inclusion. Curious, what is early? How are we defining early? And also, what if you could allude or hint at what those plans could be in development to intervene in the early stages or earlier stages?
So that refers to the Re-engage project which we were discussing. So we are focusing that work on Key Stage 3. So children who've got have probably had multiple fixed-term exclusions from school with behaviour that indicates they might be on a trajectory towards youth justice if there isn't earlier intervention. One of the underlying principles was we are really proud of these speech and language therapists in our service, which identify children who come into the justice system, that about 90% of them have got communication needs, but we think you shouldn't need to commit an offence to get your speech and language needs identified. So this was an attempt to go upstream into that age group. We have had some referrals from middle schools where a child might be in year 6 and we're thinking, well, we'd be pragmatic and think that's a suitable referral. The school's going to carry on working with them into Key Stage 3, and we've identified them a bit earlier, but we haven't gone younger than that.
Sorry, and sort of similar question. So on page 42 of the report, and it's the 6.5, and it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th paragraph down, makes reference to Dorset's ability to diagnose ADHD up to the age of 18, and then I know in our sort of partner authority it goes up to 16, I believe, isn't it? Is that do we have any responsibility to what they're doing as partners in this report with that authority? Is there any financial impact that comes with that? And what are the arrangements in place to kind of, is it to bring it over, it alludes to in the report about bringing it up to the age of 18 over there. Do we have any hand in that, or will that just be a simple BCP thing?
It sits with the Integrated Commissioning Board, and it also covers the East Dorset area as well as BCP. And it has been a long-standing difference in commissioning that ADHD assessments in that side of the county are only available if the child is open to CAMS. We have an ICB representative on our YGS Partnership Board, Youth Justice Service Partnership Board, and we flagged this last year without progress. The new representative is saying that they have got plans in place to try to address that discrepancy. So it's their responsibility and their sort of financial responsibility. We can try and influence, but we don't directly control it.
And so just to confirm, it is our position to encourage them to raise that age? Yeah.
It is absolutely, and I don't think anyone is suggesting that the current state of affairs is appropriate. It's just finding a way to unblock it.
Thank you. Councillor Holloway again.
Yeah, thank you. Just on your report there, David, with page 28, 5.5, when you talk about employment and training support for 16 and 17-year-olds, often I always do enjoy reading the reports and always welcome certainly these employment and training programs, because often you see once you take a young person sometimes out of a school environment into more of a working environment, it's normally it can be a huge transformation. And I just wanted to ask, with where it said where 21 young people obviously attended the partnership program that you had with Upton Country Park, say those 21, did you sort of survey those 21 afterwards? Did you know what the results were? You know, did they enjoy it? You know, did they find it useful, constructive? So I just wondering if you could possibly ask, you know, did you sort of survey and did you get feedback from those 21 young people that were a part of that program?
We've had kind of spontaneous feedback, if you like, so we've kind of heard comments from them as we go along, but we haven't undertaken a kind of structured evaluation like that, asking for feedback, and it would be a good idea, so I think that's something we can add to our action plan. We have had some successful outcomes, in particular one child who is from BCP, but they're both local authorities, children attend there. And he went on from attending there with the Youth Justice, finished his work with the Youth Justice, carried on, has become a volunteer at Upton Country Park, and now has a kind of informal mentoring role with some of the children on the programme. So we've seen some good examples of outcomes, but we could be more structured about how we gather that evidence.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Holloway.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I would certainly would welcome that. I would, if you could possibly get a little bit more of a constructive evaluation on that, because I know sometimes it's always hard sometimes to get feedback and answers out of young people, because obviously, you know, it's boring paperwork maybe that they would see, but but for us it's incredibly valuable and useful it is, because we can then see if that is having a positive impact on that young person, because often, as you say, when young people are struggling in early years life and in early life and everything, and growing up and everything, sometimes just by transitioning them into a new environment can suddenly sometimes bring a whole new life, a new sort of open up new doors for those young people, because obviously, you know, not all our young people, obviously, you know, with whatever happens in their young lives and everything, you know, sometimes school environment doesn't always bring out the best in that young person. Sometimes when you have that transition of of going into that, it has enormous impacts and can have enormous change. So I would welcome if we could have a bit more of a bit more sort of information and sort of possibly sort of quotes and feedbacks from those young people who are in those programs, because I think that would be useful for this committee to look at. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to come back on that?
Just obviously, I agree with that. We will do a bit more systematic approach to gaining the feedback. And we have some really good. We ask for their views when we're developing the activities, and we've adjusted the activities and the programme as we go along in response to the feedback. And we've got good examples. Other children, you're right to say that some children don't thrive in a school setting, which is what we were talking about earlier. And we've had some that attend very anxiously, worried about whether they feel okay there, and they've ended up being kind of regular attenders and really valuing it. So it's a good way to build confidence.
Councillor Orrell.
Thank you, Councillor Orrell, Malcolm Regis. Two questions. The first one's about funding of resource bases. So I very much agree with the thrust of the paper, that you're diverting people away from the criminal justice system. I saw last year a couple of children from mixed heritage being frog marched down Bournemouth Station, and my heart sank, because I was thinking that they'd probably end up with a custodial sentence and blight their lives, and it has absolutely no impact on drug supply because they're not criminal masterminds. Looking at the statistics here, it's obvious that that kind of person would not be entering the custodial sentence. It's only the violent crime. So that's encouraging. The Upton Park thing was good, but I'd noticed that the funding of that was heritage and is with lottery, so that's not permanent. And that two of the other contact centres in Bournemouth and Poole are going to have to be relocated. So it seems to me you've got funding crisis for some of your locations. And if the budget 1.5 is not really keeping up with inflation, so your budgets are falling and you've got more resource centres you've got to re-equip. So is that going to hit the service?
We're in a kind of period, I think, of finding short-term funding. So, for example, there's been a turnaround programme from the Ministry of Justice has provided some funding. Last year, there was a programme from the Home Office called Immediate Justice. So we're starting to have to use short-term funding to run things like the Discover You project at Upton Country Park, but the core funding for running the whole service is what's referred to in paragraph 1.5, and we're maintaining a good service with the resources that have been allocated to us. The office move in our BCP council area is to do with local authority in that area reducing the amount of the estate and reducing properties. That's happened. That will be our third or fourth move in the last few years, if that does go ahead this year. But again, I'm working with colleagues in that area to identify suitable premises for us to continue to work from.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Orrell.
Second question, picking up the theme of some of my colleagues' questions, it's about getting these speech-language assessments. These looked after children, we are the corporate parents. I'm very much aware, being a parent of a child with communication trouble, in his case, deafness, that you get offered things by local authorities. It's another local authority, so I'm not criticising Dorset, but you get offered what's available, and we don't need to get a statement, we don't need a SEND plan, because we'll give you enough in a mainstream school, is what you're often told. And as a parent, you say, no, that's not good enough, I want what's best for my child. But my worry is, as a social worker or a caseworker might accept that because they might be looking at the needs of the organisation rather than the priority of the child. So the question is, are our social workers and caseworkers taking a child-focused approach and really pushing, saying, no, it's not good enough, I want a speech and language assessment, I want a SEND plan for this child, and not backing down like a real parent would?
Hello, Paul Dempsey, Executive Director for Children's Services. Yes, they are. They do always behave in a way that a real parent should behave, so we are seeking to achieve the best for all our children. In relation to children in care, which I think you mentioned, and our corporate parenting responsibility, we have sought to improve the accessibility of speech and language and communication therapist through introducing some of them into our services. So, for example, our Harbour, Edge of Care and In-Care service is a multi-agency team with speech and language therapy as part of that offer. So they work with young people on the edge of care and young people in care, and that is a resource that any of our social workers can seek to access for those children. Don't have to be in care, they're often working with children on outreach or young people who are on the edge of care. And of course, we would seek to secure provision through schools and the health service for all of our other children where we thought that was appropriate. So we do know that speech and language needs for children in care are really high. And addressing that will improve their outcomes. So we're on it.
Thank you. Did you want to come back, Councillor Orrell?
No, it's just that's fine. It's just making sure the point was made earlier. We don't wait until they're into the criminal justice system. We actually push for the help before they get to that point. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mercer.
Good afternoon. Councillor Steve Mercer for Blackmore Vale Ward. Could I just, David, just ask your view on the reduction in 2020, 2021 was down 31%. Is there any particular reason? Was that a change in recording or what gave that jump? Because none of the years since have been anywhere near that level. And my second question is, I was involved in an SEN school, and their challenge was always to break that that trail of children going from SEN schools and a primary location, a secondary, and then ultimately onto institutions of prison. And they saw that actually there was a small number of families in the locations they dealt with that had children that had those needs and ultimately ended up going to prison. Do we do anything holistically with families that exhibit those patterns?
If I'll respond to the first part of the question, and then Paula may want to come in on the second part. The first part, in terms of the reduction in first dimensions, it happened faster in Dorset than in BCP. It would be hard to say what single factor led to that big reduction in that year, and obviously we were talking around the time of the pandemic as well, which confuses things. But the way we've gone about it is a combination of the Youth Justice Service and Dorset Police making a commitment to divert children where possible. So they will have committed an offence, but we will look for ways to deal with them that we call it informal, so there would be less than the youth caution. So we can still do the normal work, but they don't get a caution, and therefore they don't formally enter the justice system. And that happens alongside really strong locality working and from children's services to provide that early help and early support, so that fewer numbers of children are committing offences and we don't have that decision about whether to divert them. So that's the first part. And then the second part of it was about our work kind of with specific families or parts of the community, and that we in the Youth Justice Service contribute or participate in locality working kind of arrangements, but that's probably one for you.
Yes, Paula Golding, I'm Corporate Director for Care and Protection. We work really closely with the Youth Justice Service in the locality teams, both from an early support level all the way up through to child protection, child care. And I think it's about taking that whole family approach to understanding the needs of the family to reduce the risks for children. And examples of that are for our Safeguarding Families Together, taking that whole, bringing along our adult practitioners to address the need, working closely with probation and other parts of the system to reduce the need. Does that answer your question?
Okay, as everyone's had a chance to say something, is there anybody else who'd like to ask our officers any other questions? So the officer recommendation is that we approve the policy. No. To endorse the policy and send it to Cabinet. There we go. So the officer recommendation is that we endorse the policy and send it off to Cabinet to wend its way. If we are going to do that, I would need a proposer and a seconder. Is that a proposal? So a proposal from Councillor Jones and a seconder from Councillor Holloway. So I'm going to, there we are, that's passed, so that is endorsed. Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon. We need to take a vote. Can I get a show of hands? Can I please raise your hand if you're in favour? There you are. That's unanimous. Thank you. That's the vote. And then we're on to the next, thing, which is noting the work programme and forward plans. George, is anybody going to present that to us, or do we just consider that read?
I can just run through it quickly.
I would love that. Thank you, George.
Just to run through what's on the committee's work programme for the next few meetings. At our next meeting in July, we have a report on the Families First for Children as Pathfinder, and that's going to be an update report. And then in September, we move on to financial provision for the voluntary and community sector. And then empty home strategy, and later in the year, we've also got the housing allocation strategy as well. And we'll keep you updated as any reports come onto the work programme.
That is brilliant. Thank you very much. That is duly noted. The next thing on the agenda is exempt business. And as there is no exempt business, I am going to close the meeting at 2:35. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming.